Hello and welcome. I'm Joe Davila, aka Broker Joe. 26 years working here in New York City as a real estate agent, associate broker at Sotheby's, handling both rentals and sales throughout the city, primarily on the Upper West Side and in Harlem, but also throughout the city. Today we're going to be discussing the rents and what's going on in the marketplace with rent in general. As of the moment, rents are as high as they've ever been, but we are starting to see a little bit of softening happening in certain segments of the market, and I can't accentuate that enough. Certain segments of the market. That being said, I'm going to go over an article that I just read that was put together by Douglas Elliman and Mila Samuel, where they highlight some of the items that are taking place right now in New York City, specifically Manhattan real estate. The Manhattan average rent is at $5,200. Fell slightly for the month, but is still up 19% and hitting $5,249 in the month of November. But it's still 19% above where it was last year. So that's a significant amount of money. The rise in the New York rents also adds pressure to overall inflation, since rents are a large component of the inflation indexes, and New York is known and recognized as the largest rental market and one of the most expensive throughout the country and throughout the world. Now, Manhattan rents did rise by 2% in November. The median rent for November hit $4,033, and that's up from $3,964 in October. So we saw that from October to November, there is an increase in the median price. Median price is the best way to look at most anything you're analyzing. So the $4,033 represents the middle point between the high and the low. Now, as the New York rents have stayed very high, the number of unrented or empty apartments remain very low. That is what you would call the vacancy rate, which is 2.4%, and that's really low and is below the historical norm for Manhattan, which is traditionally around 3%. So what this allows landlords to do, knowing that the vacancy rate is low, it obviously gives them the ability to continue to increase rents and also get the most out of each apartment that they do have available. Now, we're talking about what has occurred mostly in October and November, but I am starting to see signs that things are slightly changing. The Harlem rental market is not the same as, let's say, the Upper West Side and other parts of the city. The number of inquiries that have come in for apartments that I have available for rent here in Harlem, they're not operating at the same level as they once were, particularly during the summer months, where that's the peak of the rental season. Now, you always expect some drop off from the peak of the rental season, but here in Harlem right now as we speak, the market has gotten a lot softer. So what I always tell my clients, that if you have an apartment that's available for rent that cycles around, where the lease renews December, January, February, March, I highly encourage you to write a lease that's at least 18 or around 18 months long. Essentially, you want the lease to expire in the months of June, July, August, preferably around June. That way, when it does become available, should your tenant not renew, you'll have the opportunity to be on a market where the most amount of renters are looking, and that's generally when you're going to get the highest and best rents. You can see here in Harlem that many of the apartments that are becoming available are most of the time being offered as no fee. That is a telltale sign that the rental market in our particular area of Harlem is not doing as well as some other areas. And I'll give you an example. I'm very fortunate, having been in the business 26 years, that I have landlords throughout the city, and one landlord in particular in Soho, we just listed her apartment, and I kid you not, we put it on the market. Within 2 or 3 hours, I can pause the ad. And that's because I get so many inquiries that I'm inundated. It's coming so hard, so furious that I can't keep up. That being said, the inquiries that do come in, when I respond to them, I let them know that the broker's fee is going to be the full fee. It's 15% of the annual rent. And I would say that more than half of those renters are more than happy to pay the fee because they want to be in Soho, which is very much in high demand, and they don't get too many options of availabilities. And when they do, they go very fast. Now, here in Harlem, I place an ad, I may get one or two, three inquiries in a week, and that's despite my best efforts of sending it out to the brokerage community, enhancing the advertisement in Street Easy, and still, that level of activity is much lower than it would be in other parts of the city. So, that being said, although rents have increased here in Harlem and elsewhere throughout Manhattan, certainly some areas are more profound than others. But the main gist of what's going on is that the rents have dramatically increased, and what that has caused a lot of renters to do is just to stay put and not move. If you happen to have a great landlord and they're going to work with you, maybe they're not going to get the very highest rent possible, but they're going to get their increase, and they're going to get a good increase. So if you're a renter, talk with your landlord and see what you can do about being about staying, because one of the things that you can sell them on is that, hey, if I stay, then you don't have to turn this apartment over, get it clean, get it painted, and maybe lose a month while it's on the market. You're a good tenant, you've been paying your rent on time, you're obviously the ideal tenant to stay and continue to pay the rent, but you're going to obviously have to pay an increase. As a landlord, depending on where you're located, you may want to contact me. I can go over individually apartments that you may have in various parts of the city and tell you which ones are doing better than the others. But at the end of the day, the market is up. So it's not going to stay like this forever. They are showing signs that things are slightly changing, but certainly when you look at what's gone on over the past year, it's just been phenomenal. Now, the other thing we can see that is slightly changing, that while the rents are up, we are starting to see that some landlord concessions are also going up. Landlord concessions can include anything from like free rent or other deals such as offering to pay the broker's fee. But that being said, we could see that 16% increase in concessions have occurred in certain segments of the rental market. Now, real estate experts are saying that there could be a big drop in new leases, and if that continues, it will eventually force landlords to meet renters at a lower rent price. All this is to say that the rental market in 2022 has done phenomenally well for most landlords in most areas of Manhattan. In some other areas, while the market has been up, we are starting to see some slowdown in those markets. And I would say that that is particular to the Harlem market. So here's my question to you. Where do you think the rental market will be in the first quarter of 2023? Let's not go through the whole 2023 and try to predict what's going to happen. But in the first quarter of 2023, what do you think is going to happen? Now let's take a couple of things into consideration. January, February, March traditionally are not busy months. If we have a lot of bad cold weather, that could put a damper on future rents and availabilities. If you are a renter and you happen to be on the market that time of the year, that is actually a good time to be on the market and searching for a home. If there's any one time in which things generally are slow, that's the time of the year. Now, granted, you're also not going to have as many apartments on the market. June, July, and August is when you have the most amount of turnover and a lot of activity. But things are slow in January, February, March, and quite frankly, if you're a landlord and you have a home available, you don't generally get the best rent. So if you're a renter during that time, that's a good time to be a renter. In addition to predicting where you feel the market will be in the first quarter of 2023, tell me which market you think will have the highest increase in value or the biggest, the lowest increase in value. Tell me what your thoughts are on this subject. You can always reach me at joe.davila@sotheby's.realty. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. If you have any other questions or thoughts in regards to the real estate market, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I'm always available for you. And particularly if you're a landlord, if you need comps on a home, you're always welcome to reach out to me. Once again, this is Joe Davila, aka Broker Joe, 26 years in the real estate business here in Manhattan, working full time as always. And all the best to everybody. Until the next time, be good. Have a fantastic weekend.